We are all very excited now to begin the induction of the 44th class to the Stafford H. Pop Cassell Hall of Fame. Our first honoree this evening is Virginia Casabo. Virginia was one of the most impactful players in the history of American University's field hockey team. She still holds the program record for career assists with 65 and is fifth in the program with 119 career points overall. We're very happy to have AU's field hockey head coach, Steve Jennings, join us to give the induction speech for Virginia. Steve was an assistant coach for the program during Virginia's first 2 seasons. He's currently in his 14th season as the head coach, and he certainly knows a few things about these events as he himself was inducted into the National Field Hockey Coaches Association Hall of Fame in 2012. Please welcome Coach Steve Jennings.
Well, I'm very honored to be here tonight, and especially honored to speak on Virginia's behalf. I want to congratulate Steven as well for being inducted, and everybody's families. It's a really special occasion. The very first recruit I can ever remember is Virginia Casabo. After 20 years of coaching in this profession and literally meeting hundreds and hundreds of people, and probably on the night that I first met Virginia, I probably met several dozen people, she stands out, and I think that's incredible. We were at a major tournament in 1993 over Thanksgiving, and I hadn't seen her play, but when this young woman from Mamaroneck, New York, approached the AU booth on senior night, she had that certain something. Her smile, passion, and enthusiasm were all on prominent display, and when all was said and done, she would become an Eagle. More than that, when all was said and done, she would go on to an amazing international career representing her native Uruguay, entering the NCAA record books, and helping transform our program along the way. Upon her arrival to AU, it was quickly apparent that Virginia was a competitor of the highest order. I personally love to push players to see which ones back down and which ones step up. With Virg, you could challenge her with a trick or a one-on-one, and she would surge to another level almost immediately. She wanted to beat you, regardless of pedigree. In fact, the bigger the target, the stronger her desire grew, which for me has always been one of the signs of the great ones. She might have complained about fitness tests before running on the track, but once the stopwatch started, she went, and she was always finishing first. Often laughing at the finish line after she finished the test, she would invite everyone upon their completion to TDR with a smile. As a teammate of hers told me, never ever make a bet with Virg. She will do it. Never say, hey, anyone want to do this? Unless you really want to, because Virg will. Her competitive fire extended to every area of her life, on the track, in practice, in games, and off the field, and became one of the keys to that made us so tough to beat on the field. Her freshman year was a real taking off point for the program. The team had great balance, leadership, and in addition to Virginia, 2 future Hall of Famers in Yulia Baer and Stacy Subat. In the middle of the season of 1994, we lost an epic game to the eventual national champions, James Madison University, in double overtime on the Mass Ave field. We used to play on grass all the time. On JMU's team was the future captain of the gold medal-winning Dutch Olympic team. On that day, numerous players, including Virginia, made their own mark as a force to be dealt with. As brutal as that loss was, the next game was to be even tougher against number 1 Old Dominion. They were waiting in the wings, and we had very few days to recover. With a character that reflected Virginia's personality, we fought through the bad grass, through tough calls, and through incredible waves of pressure to take down the Lady Monarchs for the first time in our program's history. Old Dominion, just for a little reference, was a program that had won 7 national championships, and just several years earlier had beaten AU 16-0. So there's a huge turnaround in that. The only one photo I know of exists from that day, and underneath the grainy image of celebration are words that would come to become an informal motto of that team: Giant Killers. It would be an ironic win because it meant that we would soon become vagabonds. Being a giant killer, apparently, had a negative side to the equation. Rules were changed within the league by teams who believed that we won because of our field, not because of our skill. That meant For the rest of Virginia's career, we would start to have to get into vans, buses, and ferry out to places like Georgetown and Maryland that had a turf to be able to practice to prepare for turf games for all the league matches. That was the only way for us to get to the top. I don't know where the dreaming started, but regardless of who gets the credit, the seeds of a turf field were certainly nurtured to a new level, if not planted at that time. I can tell you that much of the celebration of welcoming Virginia back to AU, of honoring her induction to the Hall of Fame, has focused on her desire to play on our turf field during this visit, to do something that so many student athletes fought and yearned for, yet never achieved. Hopefully, before she heads home, we'll be able to welcome her to training on Monday and let her proudly experience her true home turf for the first time. Her career at AU continued to grow, matching the heights of the program's success. Virginia earned Regional All-America honors twice, and AU field hockey broke into uncharted territory, getting ranked in the nation's top 20 for the first time. As a dominant midfielder, she helped control the game and could literally run circles around her opponent. But most critical to our success was her special ability on the penalty corner, where she was a stick stopper. Her gift for chopping a bouncing ball dead on the Mass Ave field with her style was unparalleled in the country, in my opinion, and helped her form one of the most threatening scoring duos in the history of the field hockey in our sport. Virginia would stop the ball, and Stacy Suba would come and smash it in. And that was a pretty great combination. Over her career, as David told you, she amassed 65 assists, which is by far the most in our program's history, somewhere to the order of 20 more than the nearest person, and totaled 119 points, which is good for fifth all-time in our program's history still. More than that, though, she's fifth all-time in the NCAA in assists per game. More than that, she's 13th all-time still in total assists for the NCAA. So it's an incredible accomplishment, which signifies how important she was to our program. When you bring up Virginia to her teammates, the stats all melt away. Almost every one of them describe her as fun, competitive, spontaneous, and a true athlete. Her leadership qualities brought out the best in all of her teammates. Virginia paid attention to starters and non-starters, to seniors, freshmen, and recruits in a way that made them all feel truly very important. Teammates frequently remarked how Virginia was one of the main reasons they decided to go to AU, and once here was critical in lifting them on tough days and helping them love the game through her infectious, positive personality. They describe her as a force on the field, on any surface, grass, sand turf, dry turf, water turf, it didn't matter. Virginia was tough. One day at Maryland, she got smashed in the face and had what was described to me as literally a huge hole in her cheek with blood running everywhere. She calmly got bandaged up and got back in the game for the next play. She was a person prepared to dominate and raise the level of play of all those around her every day. For me, Virginia is a legacy player, someone who recruited like-minded individuals to enrich the lives of her teammates, administrators, coaches, and teachers as she expended the best of herself over a 4-year period trying to catch gold in her fingertips. She came close, nearly winning the CAA tournament, one of the top 3 conferences in the country at that time for our sport. In the semifinals, on a breakaway, it was her goal in double overtime that beat JMU and got AU to the final, where they lost a desperately close game to Old Dominion 3-2. Her love of the game was such that only recently did she retire. Long after her graduation from AU, she continued to play hockey internationally, representing her home country of Uruguay with distinction. Her highlights among many include going to the Pan American Games twice. In 2003, she secured a bronze medal with Uruguay, and that's the highest place that they've ever finished in that international competition. She became captain of the team. She became the leading goal scorer in the history of the Uruguayan team, and she was named the Uruguayan Player of the Year in 2003. At AU, for us, she left behind a legacy of excellence that set the bar high for our program. As a pioneer, she was part of a team that showed we could become a national force and was critical in helping get the program much-needed respect. In returning to the program to coach it in 1999, it was the teams Virginia played on which provided the blueprint that it could be done and served as a constant inspiration for us to try to match their lofty heights. I thank her for coming to our recruiting booth all those years ago and for being as memorable as ever tonight. We are proud of you, Virg, and thank you for your incredible contributions to this university and our program. At this time, I would invite Dr. Kerwin and Mr. Jack Cassell to join me on stage. And now it's my distinct pleasure to introduce and congratulate Virginia Casabo as the newest member of the American University's Top Cassell Hall of Fame.